The World Series is off to a bad start for the Houston Astros, and not just because they are 2 games down to the Washington Nationals, because they fired their assistant general manager yesterday for screaming inappropriate comments at female reporters, part of a pattern of conflict with the press. Like every team, the Houston Astros were celebrating their AL win with the usual antics. But as the partying wound down, assistant GM Brandon Taubman turned to 3 female reporters, one wearing a purple anti-domestic violence bracelet, and screamed, "Thank God we got Osuna. I'm so effing glad we got Osuna," referencing pitcher Roberto Osuna, who had been suspended 75 games for domestic abuse. NPR's David Folkenflik reported details of the exchange.
I want to be clear, it was intense, it was pointed, it was at this cluster of 3 women.
When one of the reporters, Sports Illustrated's Stephanie Epstein, first wrote about the incident, the Astros responded, calling her article misleading and completely irresponsible.
A big part of this seems to be that the Astros suggested this didn't happen.
Yes, and said that it was a fabricated story.
After finally acknowledging the confrontation took place, Taubman apologized, as did Astros manager A.J. Hinch.
No one should ever feel like when you come into our clubhouse that you're going to be uncomfortable.
But that wasn't good enough for Major League Baseball, which launched its own investigation into the incident.
We got more breaking news. The Houston Astros have fired their assistant general manager, Brandon Taubman, for inappropriate comments.
And Astros GM Jeff Luhnow essentially admitted his front office lied when they said the Sports Illustrated story wasn't true.
That original reaction by the Astros was wrong, and we own it as an organization.
But no one believes Taubman would have been fired without MLB stepping in. And female sports reporters say his behavior is not unusual.
Even though we have made great strides in the clubhouse, this is actually more common than you would think.
Oh, no, we believe you. No, I believe her. Apparently, Taubman had some exchanges with the woman whose name I don't know, who was wearing the anti-domestic violence bracelet before about Osuna, but there was no discussion that day about Osuna. There was no questions about him. So apparently, according to David Folkenflik, who was really very specific on the details, it came out of nowhere, out of left field. The locker room was essentially empty, and he started taunting and screaming this, basically saying, screw you with your stupid your domestic violence stuff. We've got, Osuna.
It didn't just come out of nowhere. Osuna had just blown a save.
No, I know, but it was hours later.
Right. It was. I mean, it made no sense whatsoever. Taubman's outburst was completely unacceptable. But I think that what the Astros initially did was even worse, because they sat down and they planned that out, and they knew better. And
because of fake news, they thought it would work.
Right, exactly. We could call it fake news,
right.
And there you go. I mean, it was a disgraceful episode, and everybody's now rooting for the Nationals.
Yeah, ask any sports reporter, and they'll tell you a lot of sports teams are like this. They, of course, thrive on and feed off of the coverage they get from the press. Without it, they've got nothing. Their business model's down the toilet. However, they want to control. They're control freaks. They want to control the press, and inject sexist piggery into the mix. And you've got this toxic brew of control freakdom and sexism and a hair-trigger temper, maybe fueled by the kid was so dumb he didn't know you spray the champagne on each other. You don't drink it. Although that certainly being drunk wouldn't excuse his disgusting behavior. This is what happens sometimes. I'm glad they got called on it, and it appears as if it may have really messed with their karma badly, which goes to show what goes around comes around.
I think while this kind of activity has gone on in locker rooms for, since the beginning of time, I think what's different now is that there seems to be this environment where people feel free to go after journalists and use harsh language in a way that perhaps they wouldn't have done it in the past. Not saying that it didn't happen, but I think that you're seeing it more and more because people see others getting away with it and they think they can say anything. They're just reporters. The public will be on our side. And it's part of the national mood that we currently are part of, and I think that's a reflection of it.
On the other end of the spectrum, you've got Bill Belichick's reactions when you have an interview, which we discussed not too long ago. But one of the things that just grabbed me, I just wanted to mention Dan Shaughnessy's column, because I thought it was really a terrific piece of work and very angry, you could tell, where he referred to the Astros as being tone deaf and essentially said no one should ever support the Astros in the playoffs anymore. That's it. And the nice thing about sports writing is that it really does have a much looser approach to telling what happened, and the columnists certainly reflect that. But I think some of the best work was the Sports Illustrated work that this reporter did.
I think everybody was surprised it got this much attention. And as I said in the piece, if this had been the regular season, nothing would have happened. Major League Baseball stepped in. That's the reason he got fired.
That's
Period.
right.